Okay, if I could have your attention, please, we'll resume our driver media opportunities here this afternoon at Texas Motor Speedway. And up next is Chase Elliott. He's the driver of the number 9 Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet in the Nationwide Series. He's our points leader. He's driving for Junior Motorsports. And Chase, you won at this racetrack back in April. It's your first career win, and got on a hot streak after that. I believe then you won at Darlington and so forth. But talk about how now coming back to this racetrack, that it kind of really set you in a good spot when you won here in April.
Oh, well, yeah, certainly. April was this was a huge race for us, and sitting right here was a good night last time I was here. So hopefully we can do that again this weekend. But excuse me, just when you come back, and so much has changed since we were here in April, and you know, there's a lot of guys that are that are kind of on different game plans now than they were then, and are running really fast. And just April was such a long time ago. We've raced about every weekend since then, and this world, the racing world, evolves way too fast for nothing to change, and a lot of guys to step up. So I think for us to have a better night than we did here in the spring, we're going to have to be a lot better this weekend, and I think we're certainly up for the challenge, but certainly have a long ways to go.
All right, we'll take some questions now for Chase. If you have one, raise your hand. We'll start way in the back there with Wolfgang.
Wolfgang Monser from Germany, Rennsport Press Agency. You said winning here in April was a long time ago. Nevertheless, how identical is your setup from April now to this weekend in your car?
Pretty similar. You know, from a general basis, I think it's very, very close. But you know, there's a lot of fine-tuning stuff that we've changed since then to try to keep up with the competition and what those guys are changing and how much better they've gotten. So just trying to, you know, we hope that, you know, from where we were then to where we are now, we would like to think that we've stepped up our program a little bit, and especially having these 2 off weeks prior to this race, we have made the most of that time to try to improve and not get behind. So hopefully that's the case, and we'll find out tomorrow.
Let's go to Mr. Creekmore, and then we'll work our way around.
Thank you. Stan Creekmore with CompetitionPlus.com. Chase, you look at a number of tracks, and they're all 1.5 miles, but every single one of them is different. What is special about Texas Motor Speedway, not only that suits you, but maybe is also more challenging?
Well, they're certainly all different. They have different characteristics. They might have the tunnel dug out on different ends of the racetrack, and for instance, Texas this weekend, the bumps here are in the middle of 1 and 2. You might fight that on the other end at a lot of other 1.5 mile tracks. Just kind of depends on where you are. But realistically, they're all pretty similar. You know, and I think you see on the Cup side too. You know, I think those guys will probably tell you the same thing. The racetracks are different. They have small things that make them unique. But I think the biggest thing is not losing sight of they're not that much different. You just got to have faith in what you know works, and try not to get away from that.
Over here to the far right, raise your hand, Bob Pockris.
Bob Pockris, Sporting News. Have you noticed anything in the last month or so as far as Greg Ives and maybe him trying to split a little bit of time, at least trying to kind of watch what the 88 Cup car is doing?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly know where Greg has been in these 2 off weeks, and you know, he has been trying to pay attention, and I think he needs to for what he's got coming next year, and that's a big step up. But as far as his mentality and his mindset and where his focus is, hasn't changed a bit. So I think he's done a great job balancing what he needs to do to prepare himself for next year, and make sure he gives the nationwide effort on the 9 car the best effort that he can. And I think he's done a good job of doing both, in my personal opinion.
Let's go to Lewis, and then we'll go to George. Raise your hand, Lewis.
Louis Franco, Reuters. 42-point lead, 3 races to go. What do you do to keep from getting ahead of yourself?
I just realize that anything can happen at any given point, and not ever lose sight of that, because it can all go away in a hurry. I know that. Our team knows that. And that's the biggest thing. You just can't forget about that little statement. You know, it's the truth, and 3 races may not seem like much, but an awful lot can happen in 3 races. And like I said, it can go south in a hurry. So just not losing sight of that, and just making sure you're giving it your best effort each week, and having confidence that you're doing that, and hope for the best. There's just so much that's out of your hand. You just want to try to, as a race team, and on my end, on the team's end, there's just so much that's out of your hand, and there's so little that's in your control. You want to make sure that you do your part on the stuff that is in your control before you leave the shop, and try to make the right decisions throughout practice, and so on and so forth. But the majority of it's not, unfortunately, and you just got to try to make the most of whatever's thrown at you.
Let's go to who was up next? George, right here. Was that your question? Wow, great minds think alike. Other questions? Right over here to Jerry.
Hey, Chase, Jerry Fraley from Dallas Morning News. Just wondering, I think you're 30 races into a season. How are you holding up physically and mentally doing something you've probably really never done before in your life?
As far as racing at as many different locations in the United States, I've never done that much traveling and stuff as we've done this year. For my racing personally, I've followed my dad around before doing that, but certainly not to compete. And but I have raced just as many, if not more, races than what we have this year in the past. So running that amount of races isn't necessarily new. It is new because it's on a little bit different level. But as far as the amount of races, I've done that before, and not a big difference. I think the biggest thing is just the traveling and where you're going to, and how far away you go each weekend. So that can set in on you if you let it. I think the biggest thing is we've had 2 weeks off, and there's a lot of bored days in those 2 weeks off for me. So I'm just happy to be back and looking forward to racing.
Any additional questions for Chase Elliott? Okay, Chase, thank you for coming in. Good luck this weekend and the rest of the season.
Thank you, guys.